Well, what we'd really like to know is why is it so hard to get kids motivated around these things? I mean, after all, it's really in the kids' interest to get a high school degree and get a college degree. It's not just that you make more money, you meet more interesting people. Everything is better about that path in life. And so our failure to convince them to help themselves in that way, it's very disappointing. And the U.S. statistics are horrific. We doubled what we put into education over the last 20 years, and our output did not improve at all. And other countries, on the other hand, have done very, very well. So as for younger students, there's going to be a structured environment where a teacher is there supervising them quite a bit. One of the most interesting things, a conference Saul and I went to, we heard about a thing called the Alliance School, which is a charter school in California, which in the U.S. is where most of the good experimentation takes place. They have a class of 48, but when they asked the kids what they liked about the class, they said, oh, it's so small and personal. Well, it's because they have 16 with the teacher, 16 doing peer education. And peer education, where you have kids to help other kids, that is a coming thing. And figuring out how to technologically help those kids group together and make that work, that is super powerful. It's also very cheap. And then they have a final group of 16 where they're just looking at Khan Academy type content, playing some of the math game things. And so you do math by rotating through the 3 different experiences, and their results are way better than a class of 25 done the normal way.
You just said that most of the experimentation and innovation being done from some of the innovative charter schools in the country. In New Orleans now, almost every kid goes to a charter school, and the parents have choice. It's almost a voucher system where the money follows the student. So you have competition where a KIPP and a YES and a whatever do it. Why shouldn't that be the model as it is with higher education, where there's competition and people have choice? Why shouldn't that be the model to drive innovation in K through 12?
Well, it's not like higher ed is fantastic. The dropout rates in U.S. universities are higher than any other country. Their costs have also gone up, actually more than a factor of 2 in the last 20 years, and the output has not improved all that much. So there's pathologies there as well. The uniform approach, sort of monolithic state-by-state approach that we have, yes, that probably holds things back. But politically, to get that to change is very hard. I mean, charter schools, California shorts their charter schools in a way that most of them are financially unstable right now. And, the union often argues for the status quo, whether it's against charters or against personnel systems. So it's very, very tough because everybody wants a minimum standard, and using a market-based approach, you worry that you won't hit that minimum, and so you get this kind of rigid approach as the acceptable.
But is that good or bad?
Well, I don't know how to. It's very hard to change. There are countries that do this better than we do, and you'd hope that we could learn from them. So you have, can we learn how to do personnel systems, and then can you bring technology in? Those are the 2 things that should make you optimistic about education, that people like Kaplan are on a for-profit basis, and things like Khan Academy really are going to catch on. But the institutions will be slow to recognize these things. Thank goodness for charters and some young teachers who are willing to essentially break the rules.
Bror, why do you think the profit model will succeed in a world where so many people are now doing this for free?
It's a great question. But part of it is because, as we just talked about, technology is not the only answer. It doesn't actually solve all of the human training needs. The human mind is built to take a lot of feedback, a lot of customized feedback, and to use that very well. There are some things that you can automate, and over time there will be more and more things. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to write a persuasive essay, you need somebody to give you feedback on why it's not persuasive and how to do it again, and then to look and see, did you get it right this time or not? Another aspect of this, why I think there's real value that people will pay for, is connecting the outcomes of education itself to the outcomes that are needed, let's say, in the workplace. So a lot of our work is in the higher education space, so folks go from us to the workplace, to many of your businesses perhaps. And one of the missing things in higher education is a very clear link between how are people doing in their first 6 months of work, and how shouldn't that be a feedback loop that comes back to the training environments or the learning environments to modify those. And from Dr. Kahneman's work last night, discussion last night, one of the fundamental barriers is the System 1, System 2 problem, which is that experts, more than half of what is human expertise in an expert's mind is subconscious. That is, when they teach a novice, as you do, you stick an expert up in front and have them teach, they will tell a novice less than 30% of what the novice needs to know to execute. It's why your first year in any job is an agony. It's because all the experts before you ended up not telling you more than 30% of what you needed to know the first day on your job. There are techniques, and we're experimenting with those at Kaplan, that come out of cognitive science, and I've talked with some of you about those things, called cognitive task analysis, where you identify with objective measures out of 1,000 people in your workforce, who are the 3 that you want to clone? Who are the 3 who are making decisions that are amazing for your business in their role? And then you can do an interview process to get more like 70% of that, and then create training materials and methods and practice that targets those skills, put those in place, and begin the feedback loop on with an objective reason. You can make it clear, transparent, what you're trying to do and why. And that allows you to change it over time, too. As the job role changes, you keep interviewing new experts and you make adjustments. Well, now that takes real work, and repeated work. It's also enormously valuable for both you as employers and for the employees to now sign on and know that the training track is leading to high-quality expertise that's been validated in the workplace. So to me, what's happening now, and it's terrific, is the free solutions are providing an increasing baseline of learning materials, right? You can't get away with, poorly designed lectures and then ignore the students, right? It's just, no, that's not going to work anymore. There's all this great free materials to provide a baseline. And then above that, that's where it gets exciting. What comes after that? What feedback do you do? How do you design outcomes to improve on what's available that's free? And I think it'll be, just like always in technology, an ever-increasing, in a sense, race that way. And so I think that's part of what's exciting about it.
So you can remember your days at MIT and at Harvard. Khan Academy has no such campuses. Kaplan has places where people go, but they aren't quite campuses like that. What is the role, if any, that actual physical campuses with human interaction should and will play?
I think it's a huge role, and I think the important part is what you just said, the human interaction. And the problem is, if you go to most campuses right now, yeah, we're all in the same room, but there's actually very little human interaction. I mean, I used to sit in 300-person lecture halls whole semester. I didn't know the professor. I might have known 2 people in the classroom. No interaction.
By the way, every professor who taught you claims that
they saw potential back then. Yeah, I don't know.
More people
I met a
taught
couple
Bill
of them.
computer science at Harvard than even ever taught there.
So what I say, when I imagine school for my own children, I imagine a highly interactive environment. And so what we think is that, education's the spectrum. At this end is your, multiplication, facts, and vocabulary. And then out here is building a robot, starting a business, painting a picture. Really open-ended creative things. And what we see the role of technology is, okay, we're already doing this part, and we're going to keep pushing the envelope. We'll use data, we'll make it better and better and better, and we'll iterate on it, and we'll connect it to real economic valuable things. And then as we do this, there's kind of some fear that is this going to, because right now this is where school is focused. Is this going to replace the teachers there? It's going to turn them into, monitors of some kind. It's like, no. This is an opportunity to move the humans over here, where the humans are good.
Mm-hmm. Bill, what do you think the role of things like social networks and gaming are in transforming education?